WrestleBuddy Podcast. All about wrestling. Subscribe and follow for more content.
Welcome, WrestleBuddies, to another edition of our weekly review. Obviously, we're not going to go through the first bits of the week because the weekend was so jam-packed. And I am joined today by my fellow WrestleBuddies, Zane, Joe, and Stephen. How are we all doing, guys?
Not bad.
Well, thank you. Doing
Right, obviously, we've got a lot to get into, guys, so we might as well just start straight away. And what better place to start than Rampage with some guy making his debut? For me, it was just absolutely unbelievable. I was thinking to myself, I hope he just doesn't walk out and start talking. I hope he kind of, build it up throughout the show and stuff. And I'll admit, how wrong was I? The crowd was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think he's done the right thing, because I don't think anybody could have had a match or done anything with that crowd until we'd seen Punk come out. Yeah. And the emotion in that crowd was unbelievable, seeing grown men crying, and it just shows you what you can actually get out of wrestling if it's done correctly. And what did you all think? What did you think of his program, Steve? Do you want to go first?
I thought it was brilliant. I love the way they do it. Again, like you, I wasn't sure how they would do it or how they should do it. And I had no real idea. I couldn't really think of an idea how to do it best. And I think the way they did it it was just, like you said, it was just perfect. I mean, it's good when you've got Jim Cornette bigging it up saying it was perfect. And he's the ultimate AEW hater. He said it was perfect. I actually agree with Jim Cornette on this one. I really liked the way that he came out, he did an entrance, then they stopped. They were like, okay, we're going to a commercial break for 90 seconds. We'll be back in a little bit. It just gave anyone who wasn't watching and wasn't sure time to be like, wait, this is trending. He's there. Get tuned in. The promo was just awesome. It was just from the heart. It was exactly what it needed to be. I never expected him to he didn't apologize, but say he knows how people feel about the way things went down and stuff in the past with him leaving and not going back to wrestling. I don't think he needed to do that, but he did, and it was just wonderful. It was just really, really cool.
Yeah. And one thing I will say there as well is you could see the raw emotion on him as well as the crowd. When he ran and started jumping into the crowd and all that stuff, good. It was just, you could see he genuinely cared. And I think one of my big worries was he was coming back to wrestling just for money. Yeah. And after take away the promo, you always say it, a human can't hide the emotions on the facial expressions, and he couldn't hide that. What do you think, Zane?
Yeah, it was actually pretty insane, because even though we were expecting it, 99% sure, I'm not going to say we're 100% sure, 99% sure that he was going to show up. But when he walked out, it was so surreal, seeing him in a wrestling arena in front of a packed crowd. And he just stands there, he just takes it all in, he just looks around, and he's almost teared up. It was pretty amazing. For me, as someone who literally was 9-10 years old, seeing CM Punk rebel against the system. Although I wasn't much aware of what was happening at the time in 2011, but seeing him go against Vince McMahon, go head-to-head with Vince McMahon in the promo battle, at the time for me was like, oh, all right, this guy's onto something. This guy's going against the system. That's not something a 10-year-old would know at the time. But he had such a great impact, even right before he left in 2014. So when he came back, it was very special to me, and as seen through the footage of the crowd captured by AEW, it was special to many there in the United Center as well.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I loved in his actual promo as well, I don't know if a lot of you, I know I had to watch it back about 3 or 4 times to kind of take it all in, because the atmosphere at first was kind of just taking over my brain more than anything else. And the whole emotion of the event and stuff. But when he said when he left the wrestling in 2005, and that was when he left the Ring of Honor. So, obviously it's a shot at him saying that he doesn't see WWE as wrestling.
I did it too.
He said, well, I think a lot of us don't anyway, if it's more sports entertainment, but that's what they say they are, so it's no problem there. But also I'm saying he's not coming back for a one-shot deal or anything like that. He's back properly, and then he turns around to Darby Allin and says, you're the first. We'll start with Darby Allin. Brilliant first opponent, I think. help, you know, project somebody up there, which is what we're always saying about these guys coming back and the established stars. Joe, what did you think of that, mate? And what do you think about him picking Darby Allin as his first opponent?
I haven't seen the actual promo, but I've sort of seen the like clip of the whole entrance and the crowd, the instant crowd reaction. That hit me hard. I must admit, you know, taking away all the character that I had last week, you know, being so negative about CM Punk. On an honest opinion, now this is honest mode. I'm really pleased that he's come back to wrestling. I'm really pleased he's gone to AEW over. Like, I was hoping that he'd do like Ring of Honor first, but you know, listening to the fan reaction on its own for start off, and listening to reading what he's had to say and everything, AEW was just the smart decision to go to, and I've got no gripes of where he's gone to or anything. For what he's had to say, I think it's great to know he's here, not because he for the sake of he wants to be here. He's here because he has to be here. You know, it's like Tommy Dreamer. You know, if he steps away from the ring for X amount of time, the being away from the fans and being away from everyone is just going to drive you mad, and you're going to miss it.
And let me just rephrase this a little bit for you as well, being our Impact specialist. You know, obviously AEW and Impact do a lot of business together. You know, they sent like Kenny Omega's appeared on there amongst others. If CM Punk was to make an appearance in the Impact Zone, who would you put him against in your dream match?
Eddie Edwards.
Right. Why?
What? Eddie Edwards is what? Eddie Edwards or Josh Alexander? Eddie Edwards because he's the face of Impact Wrestling. He's just such an amazing technical wrestler. And Josh Alexander, or probably Ace Austin, now thinking about it. Josh Alexander is has been the stable guy of 2021 for Impact Wrestling. He's reset the X division. He's had match after match after match that's been match of the year contender, match of the night, those show stealing match. He is the hottest talent on Impact Wrestling at the moment. And I say guy like Ace Austin, who's getting a huge push now, going up against Christian soon on Victory Road, and a guy like Ace Austin, he's the future of Impact Wrestling. So have him go against a guy like CM Punk, who did make quite a bit of an impact for himself at one point. He did go to Impact into TNA before he went on to Ring of Honor. Like,
okay.
I mean, quickly interjecting there. I don't know if you've seen the media scrum that Punk and Tony Khan did after Dynamite. In that, I forget who asked it, and I'm going to paraphrase what was said, but he was asked about the Forbidden Door. Would he be thinking about Japan? And his answer was, for the moment, he's focusing on AEW, he's focusing on that. But in the future, then it could be he could go to Impact, he could go to like New Japan. So there is that. Maybe not now, maybe in a few years.
God,
time.
No, I don't expect them to.
But let's say we're just speaking hypothetically on that one, Steve. But Zane, if you obviously his first match is going to be against Darby Allin, do you see Punk in the title picture? Do you think he needs a belt?
I feel like he doesn't need the belt, but the title picture might need him, because I think that his main gripe was with the WWE that he never got the WrestleMania main event, right? So obviously AEW is going to give him that main event, because he also carries a big impact. He isn't gonna main event All Out. I think that's reserved for the world title. I could see him main eventing Revolution, because I think Hangman's gonna take the title of Omega, and the title might change hands a bit. And I feel like when MJF has the belt, and I feel like the title switch is going to happen soon. Like Hangman, then MJF, and MJF versus Punk for the title feud. Bit of a stretch, but if he has to be inserted into a title feud, there has to be a lot of story behind him.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I don't feel like he needs the title. If I was going to put a belt on him for more to do with, production or merchandise or whatever, I'd look at the TNT title. What about you, Steve?
I agree with you on that, Andy. I don't think he needs a belt just now. I think for at least the first 6 months, I think he needs to just get back wrestling show people he can still wrestle. He doesn't need to wrestle every week. His matches can be bigger matches. He can go for a good bit of time without having a match. He can just come and do promos. And I think if they build it in the right, give it them the right amount of time to breathe and build organically, then by the time it comes to him getting a title shot, it'll be there. And of course, we've got the AEW ranking system to think about as well. We're not a company that just throws people into title matches if they come into the. I mean, they're not going to do a Becky Lynch with them. You know, they're going to. He's going to have to earn it, like everyone else that wrestles for AEW has to earn it, and that also adds another really good dynamic towards the chase, which is one of my favorite parts of it. So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think he needs the belt just now. I'm interested to see the Darby Allin match and whatever comes after that, and just to see where they're going with it, because he's a really good storyteller, and that's what we're looking. That's what we're here for. At the end of the day, good matches, good storytelling. So it'd be good to see where it goes.
Yeah, and then don't forget as well as I was reading on Wrestling Observer before that it looks like Bray Wyatt's pretty much a done deal to AEW. Obviously, he's got his 90-day non-compete, but once that's over, he's pretty much going to go there. So you've got to have two real creative talents that can go in the ring at the same time. We know Bray can go. Interesting to see if Punk can still go. I don't think he would have went through all this if he hasn't had matches behind closed doors and can still go the way he wants to go. And then you mesh that in with no, because Cody's got a really great wrestling brain. I mean, he's the son of Dusty Rhodes, of course he's going to, and obviously the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega in the position that they're in for that same thing. So it just seems like, I was always worried in a way that AEW didn't have a creative team, when realistically they're assembling one hell of a team. What's your thoughts on that, Zane?
Yeah, I feel like with the minds they have backstage, even with the legends like Mark Henry, Paul White, they have Jericho backstage, they have Sting backstage. So many people who can contribute to a big creative process. And it's actually good that Tony Khan has the loudest voice in the room and not the final say in the room. Because, we can see with WWE, you can have as many creative ideas as possible, but the buck ends at Vince McMahon. If he wants to do it, he's going to do it. There's not as much listening room in a WWE creative meeting than it might be in an AEW creative meeting. So I think that with all the input with Punk, possibly Daniel Bryan soon coming in, and with all these legends backstage, it's going to be a fun few years ahead of us.
And the one thing I'll say with Tony Khan is he seems to be getting better and better all the time at being that filter. Because obviously if you've got the likes of the Bucks, I mean, he's worked in business for a long time, so let's face it, he knows how to run a meeting, he knows how to run kind of a creative session, probably not in wrestling terms, but in business terms, and it looks like he's really getting to grips with the wrestling side of it now. I know we had the young lads on AEW Elevation, was it, or After Dark, I can't remember which one it was, with the rap, and Tony Khan was like, hold my hands up there, Elevation, and we should have had something there. But the thing is, it seems to be they're learning all the time, and for me, I feel like the product's really good at the moment. There's certain bits of it that you look and think, oh, it's a bit rough around the edges, but with a company that's only in its infancy, you'd expect that. But the product that they're turning out now, I'm excited for the future of wrestling based on, if that's what they're doing now, wait until they get better. What's your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, I think like you said, Tony Khan, he seems to have finally gotten over, like, he's like a big wrestling fan. That whole excitement of just being a wrestling fan and having control is now started to die away a bit more. And working with guys like Don Callis and Scott D'Amore as well has really, really helped put his mind into perspective on the business side of things and how structure. Well, what needs structuring. Cody's good at that. Jericho's fantastic at that, and then he's got Scott D'Amore. Don Callis is doing a lot of work with him as well, and the guys with New Japan as well. So Tony Khan is getting his head straight now, and the way things are going with AEW, chances are I'm going to end up trying to find some time to fit that in my schedule again too. Yeah, I must admit. Just the dog just whacked the table. as for I forgot what else we were going to now. Damn. What else was you asking?
As for Punk and what?
Oh, Yeah, for CM Punk, he doesn't need a title now. I think, like you've all said, he needs to be built up. They've got the ranking system there for a reason, so don't jeopardize that by having a big name come in and shoot to the top. At least make him work for it. Otherwise, it's just going to be pointless having it, really. And it's just a great idea that was there, and it's just gone to waste.
Yeah.
But
okay. That's what I joke on.
Yeah, but I think CM Punk wouldn't have come back if he didn't think and didn't know he could go a good 10, 15, 20 minutes, because some of these matches do go on for a very long time. So if he couldn't go 20 minutes, 25 minutes, then he wouldn't be back here now. And Darby Allin, let's
face it, he's been doing the MMA for a while, hasn't he? So he's obviously still fit from that.
Yeah, and Darby Allin was an amazing choice to pick to as his first opponent. I think. In some ways, I'm a bit sad for Darby Allin, because we know that CM Punk is going to beat him. He's going to take man. So unless it's another loss in Darby Allin's record, which isn't going to look good on paper, but in reality, he's going up against the legend, and he's going to go toe-to-toe with another legend of the business and hold his own, even if he doesn't lose. So he's going to get that.
And let's face it, Darby's got time on his hands, hasn't he?
Yeah. It's great. It's like guys like Heath and Brian Myers. They've gone up against legends in WWE and been beaten for it, and then went nowhere. And now they've gone to other companies and they're soaring.
Yeah, I think sometimes though as well in wrestling, and I think it's going to be the case for Darby Allin, is like sometimes a loss can catapult you further than a win ever could. And I think just them being in the ring and being CM Punk's first opponent's just going to give him no end of exposure. And if I was him, I'd be shouting from the rooftop. So happy it'd be. Now, just one last thing I'm going to say on the Punk bit. Obviously, we've got a lot of other stuff to unpack, so we won't spend much longer on this. But how amazing was the ice cream idea?
Yeah, lovely.
The icing on the cake, so to speak.
It was actually a big fuck you to Vince after all those years of demanding ice cream bars and never getting one.
Yeah. I've been. Do you know what? I've been searching on eBay to see if I can see any of them, but none of them have come up yet. Not that I'm ever going to buy. Not that I'm going to buy one, but I tell you what.
If you bought one, it would just be a puddle of cream you got.
There's one going on right now for $1,000. I think that's what you were saying. Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. I wanted to see how much it would cost on there. All right, guys. So we are going to mention the other matches on here because I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to the talent if we don't mention this, because there was some good talent on here. So we had Private Party versus Jurassic Express. Really good match. I still think that Jurassic Express are the ones to take the tag titles off the Bucks. What's your thoughts on that? Steve?
I agree with you totally on that. It does look like they're building towards Jurassic Express taking the titles. Hence, you had the screwy loss on Dynamite. As soon as that match was done, they had announced that Tony Khan's giving them another chance, but he's not just giving them another chance, he's created a tournament bracket, so 4 teams have got to fight for it, and again, they've got to chase for it, they've got to fight for it. I think it was really good the way they did that. I loved the match. It was a nice fun match. It wasn't more than it needed to be. Obviously, all the other matches that were on this show were outshadowed by the Punk debut, and I think they knew that. But at the same time, they didn't just phone it in. They had a really good match. Some of the spots in it were just outstanding. Like you had the Tower of Doom Canadian Destroyer, which blew my mind. I could not believe that. It was a really good match, really good. And it's going to be good to see the Jurassic Express go up against the Young Bucks in a cage at All Out. I think that would be a really good match. And perfect for them to take the titles.
Awesome. And one of the things that I did notice on this is I made a note of is even after Punk and the whole scenario and the way it drove the energy with the crowd, the energy was still very loud for Jurassic Express's entrance, and they all sang along to that entrance. Now, for me, that speaks volumes. That it really does. What do you think, Zane?
Yeah, I feel like it was absolutely the right call to have Punk come out first, because otherwise the whole crowd would have been chanting and they would have taken over the show, chanting CM Punk, CM Punk. As for the tag team title picture, I have to disagree with you guys. I don't think Jurassic Express is going to be the one taking the titles off Bucks. I think it's going to be Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful. And that might happen at the Arthur Ashe show. I really hope it's them. I really, really hope it's them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Jurassic Express just because the fact that like Jungle Boy was up the top end of the card, wasn't he? And then the kind of it's like the purposely trying to keep him up that end of the cards, which is very interesting. And I think what a way for him to win his first title in the tag team championships, where he's got a partner and there's a couple little bits and bobs you can do there to kind of keep him going and keep him learning and how to be a champion rather than all the focus being on him on his own. It'll be as part of the tag team. What do you think, John?
Yeah, it's for me. It's Proud and Powerful or Jurassic Express to be the next champions, and either one. I'm really hoping to do get the belts next, because the Young Bucks holding the titles is just creating too much of a negative atmosphere around for people on the outside looking in. I've got no personal issue with it, but I read all these comments on online. People who aren't really following the product, and they're all just whinging, saying, "Oh, it's favoritism."
Well, while we've got you talking here, I'm going to go on to the next match because I feel like you're going to have something to say about this. Or sorry, it was the last match, but we're going to speak about the first anyway. Jade Cargill squashed Kiera Hogan on Rampage. Didn't think like this was necessary. Baby for Jade, but I thought for Kiera coming fresh off leaving Impact and making her way out there, I didn't really enjoy it, and I didn't think I don't think I liked it. Joe, I'm going to go straight to you, because I know you've got something to say about this.
It's a shame. It's taking all the momentum she's built up and throwing it back on the face. So it makes it look like all of her time at Impact Wrestling and Shimmer and Shine and God knows where else she's been. It's just been for nothing. It's almost like but the burnout they've given to Santana and Ortiz and Pentagon and Phoenix since they've gone to a new company. But Kiera Hogan, she lost her debut on Impact Wrestling, I think, as well. So she started off on a loss and then just shot her way to the top eventually. So she's one of these people that really doesn't care if she wins or loses. She's just happy to be wrestling, and she's happy to be in a competition. And I still got really high hopes for her. I think she's one of the women that AEW needed, and that is going to help turn the division around completely. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next match. We had Moxley versus Garcia. Not a bad match for me at the moment. I'm not enjoying Moxley. I just feel like he's kind of gone a bit stale. I don't know whether it's because I've seen so much of him since he joined AEW and he's been front and center for a long time, or maybe it's because he's in the mid card. I'm not too sure. What's your vote, Ian?
I feel like these few weeks have been kind of a stalemate zone for Moxley, because they're keeping him for a big New Japan match. Tanahashi's on his way out, right? Tanahashi's gone back to Japan, I think, and Ospreay is here. So the rumor going around is that Ospreay might be the one to face Moxley. But I feel like it's all right because you're keeping Mox on the back burner right now. He's one of their star attractions. He's one of AEW's biggest stars at the moment.
Do you think he's going to still be with the wrestlers that are joining though, and the attractions that are coming in? Do you think he still stays at that top end of the card?
I feel like yes. I feel like he's going to have a reinvigoration or of sorts, like following All Out. Because at the moment, I think with all his stuff with Eddie, they've kept him a bit in the back of the line, but he's going to step up front because he's just had a child. So he might have said, like, give me a loose schedule or something like that. Maybe, but I feel like All Out is going to be the place where we start to see him rebuild himself back to the top.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, I just don't know it at the moment. For me, his whole character just looks lazy and kind of. I know he's kind of that relaxed character, but it just seems lazy to me. And I don't want to sit here body shaming anyone, but he looks kind of soft on his body as well at the moment, like he hasn't been working out as much and stuff. What's your thoughts on it, Steve?
I mean, when the match was announced, it was exactly what I thought it would be. I thought it would be a quick match, no more than 5 minutes. I believe it came in about 4 minutes 4 or something like that. So it was nice and short. I think what they're doing with Moxley just now, they're just giving him a break. Unlike WWE, like to do the comparison there, WWE have got this habit of just rinsing the heck out of people. Like someone will work a big program, not that they do much big programs these days, but they'll work a program and then they'll lose the blow-off match or win the blow-off match, and then the next day they're in a new feud, like straight away, and it just rinse, repeat. I think it's they've took him off the back burner, like Zayn was saying, and they've just took the heat off him a bit. They're just letting him simmer down a bit, letting some new people build up, and letting some new matches develop organically. And when the time comes, they can put him back into more singles matches, because for the most he's been in tag matches and stuff like that, things that don't really get ranked within the singles picture. When the time comes, I think you'll be there to do the matches. And as it's already said as well, there's all these rumors of matches coming up with people from New Japan. So it's interesting to see where they go with it and stuff like that. I think it's just they've took the heat off him. I think it's just as simple as that. I don't think it's much more than that at the moment. And it could be good. It's good to give people a rest every now and then. And when he comes back, when the fire kicks in, when they want him to take it up a notch, I'm sure he's going to be there, because he's always been at that level. He's always been able to perform outstandingly when he needs to. So I say I'm cool with just waiting and seeing what happens with it.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to our next event now. So obviously that was Rampage on Friday night. We're going to skip SmackDown and go straight to SummerSlam, because obviously the SmackDown's not really relevant now. So we had the kickoff show. On the kickoff show, we had Biggie versus Baron Corbin. Didn't like the whole Biggie trying to get his briefcase back when realistically the contract's worthless inside it to Baron Corbin, although I tried telling Miz that last year. But the one thing I will say, it was a solid match, and it was one of the last two WWE pay-per-views, especially with the kickoff matches being really good. Obviously, we had the Mysterios Usos last time out. This time we've had Baron Corbin and Biggie. So I'm not mad at it. Solid match, not a bad way to kick off the show, Zane.
Yeah, I feel like Corbin and Biggie was a fine match. I caught a bit of it. And have you seen the latest development in Corbin's case? WWE I think he just posted on Twitter that he wants some money in Vegas. Yeah. I like the stuff they're doing with Corbin right now. Obviously, the Money in the Bank deal was stupid. But then again, I think they did the same thing last year, as you said, with Miz and Otis. So, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
Sorry. No, come after you.
I was saying that I'm going to let it play out and see where they're going with this Corbin thing.
Yeah, and the one thing I do like is that they're not rushing it. I know they have trademarked, as we've said a couple of times now, it seems we mention it every week, Happy Corbin. It's being trademarked by them, so obviously they're leading into him finding his happiness somewhere along the line. But it's a really slow burning story, and it's one that I'm really, really liking at the moment. About you, Steve?
It was a bit corny. Again, I'm not total up with SmackDown. When it comes to WrestleMania, I watched of WrestleMania. I was watching with you in the WrestleBuddy live coverage, which people should have been watching, and they can go back and watch. Cheap plug. I thought the match was all right. The Corbin story is it's a bit funny. It's a bit goofy. I'm in the camp where I'm like, right, he wrestles full time, but he doesn't have money. What's with that? Is he wrestling for free? other than that, I mean, he's got a job there. He's getting paid something. But other than that, the match was acceptable. You know what I mean, it was a pre-show match, and it was fun. It was a fun match for what it was. I thought it was the nice touch that he's coming out with a big stain on his shirt. It's like they're really hamming up that he's got like nothing. You know what I mean? It's like It's good. It's non-offensive. It was fine for what it was. So there was a lot worse on the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Joe, did you catch any of SummerSlam at all?
No, I didn't. But
you lucky boy.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of mixed reaction to it, and I'm interested to really find out why, because the huge of some big returns, obviously. So I thought that would be enough to satisfy people if the matches weren't great, because that's usually the way Vince McMahon thinks is if the matches aren't good, then it's the people we're bringing in that's going to make the show. Yeah. And I guess this time it didn't work out fully in their favor.
Well, it's not that it didn't work out in their favor; they just didn't do a job with it. But anyway, we'll crack on with the review, and you can listen like everyone else who didn't catch the show, and we suffered to watch it for you. But no, to be fair, it wasn't that much of a bad show, but it was just bits and bobs of it, which we're going to get into. Could have been a lot better. So first match that we had on the main card was AJ Styles and Omos versus the Arcade Bro for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. Not a bad little match, I thought. Some good spots. They kept Omos out of the ring for a lot of it, which I was happy about. I thought, when just before the win, Riddle pushed Omos into the ring post, which he kind of was like he was running, but it was very slow motion.
It was a fun match, but it just ended. Like, when we were watching it, I was like, oh, this is a good match. I'm really into Matt Riddle. He's one of my favourite people that's in WWE at the moment. Randy Orton's always solid. AJ Styles, always solid. Omos, very slow in the ring, but again, he does his job well. People can debate that. I've heard people saying other, but this is my opinion. My only issue with the match was it was only 5 minutes long, and the finish literally came from nowhere. I think it was you that said at the time, it's Randy Orton. The finish is meant to come from nowhere, but there was no build to the finish. It just seemed like 5 minutes later, AJ got in the ring, RKO, it was over. I was like, wait, what? That was it? That was a title change?
But that's the whole thing. It's the RKO from nowhere. Go figure.
I mean, it may be that. It may exactly be that. I don't know. As I said, it was an inoffensive match. It was a good moment.
One thing I will say is Randy Orton seems like he's got whatever he was missing. I mean, I know during the Fiend feud, he just didn't look happy, and he was kind of just going through the motions. Where he genuinely looked excited, and he was, he looked invigorated. And to be fair, he's looked invigorated throughout the whole RK-Bro storyline, which is a testament to Riddle as well, because I feel like Randy's kind of happy in what he's doing, which he wasn't during the Fiends, and it's showing in his work at the moment. What's your thoughts, Zane?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't have much of a problem with this match. It was obviously the best story from Raw going in, and I'm just glad that they didn't fuck it up. And yeah, like the right team went over. I'm excited to see what's next for RK-Bro now.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, we'll move on to our next match, which we're not going to spend much time on at all. Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie. I feel really sorry for Alexa in the position she's being put in, and WWE just helping matters by putting her with someone like Eva Marie. Obviously, Alexa gets the win in the end. I'm just going to make a point here. People say the best wrestlers can wrestle a broom, or in Kenny Omega's case, a blow-up doll. But we are not putting Eva Marie in that category because she tried to wrestle with Lily. It's not happening, okay? No. So I'm just making a ground rule here. House rules is, no longer shall I say that you can wrestle anything if you're a good wrestler, because, that's definitely not the case. Anyway, at the end of it, we got Doudrop, or as we like to call her, Steve Pippen-Niven, who looks like she's splitting up from Eva and go into a feud with her. For me, that's a great feud to happen because it'll obviously Eva Marie, whether we like her or not, she's a household name. Maybe not in wrestling to an extent, probably in wrestling for infamy, but also she was a mainstream media girl, wasn't she? And she's done well there. Mm-hmm. And for Pippen, it's a good way to introduce her to the crowds. As for Alexa, me personally, I feel like she's going to go on to a feud with Nikki Cross. I think it writes itself. Good versus evil, yada, yada, yada. What's your thoughts on that, Steve?
The match was terrible. When we were watching live, this was when I turned it off after this match. I was like, I'm going to bed. And I watched some of the matches later on. The match was just so bad. Like, so bad. There's a bit where they're trying to roll Eva over. She rolls the wrong way. She didn't even get beat with Alexa's usual finish. It was just like a straight-up DDT, which she took terribly. I mean, we could labour the point on the quality of the wrestling in the match. It was just abysmal. The good thing about it was it was short. It was really short. There was no winking dolls. I cannot believe they showed that in the video beforehand. Like, the doll winked. I thought that was like a thing that happened on the screen when it happened on Raw. I didn't realise the doll was in the ring at the time and they faked the whole wink thing. I'm just going on a tangent. I thought the bit after the match was a bit silly, a bit weird. I don't know why. It was just all a bit terrible. Like you say, it's going to be, at least this splits Piper Niven from Eva. You know what I mean? And she can go and do other stuff and rest, because she is like a seriously good wrestler, and she'll be able to have some awesome matches with people in WWE. And I'm excited to see that. If she's wrestling, I will watch it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for me, the best part of this match was the end. What did you think, Zane?
Yeah,
I feel like I can't say anything that hasn't already been said. But I have to point out the ego on Lily. She was literally no selling Eva Marie. Anyways, but the good thing about the match was, and hopefully the feud, as you said, Andy, I hope it's ended. I hope they don't run it back on Raw, or they do something like Lily versus Piper Niven or something like that.
No, I'm telling you now, mate. I feel like the Nikki Cross Alexa Bliss story is one that I think should be told if I was booking. I don't fit when I think about it, and I don't really want to say this because I feel like it's like when Harry Potter and someone says Voldemort's name and he appears. I feel like if I say it, it might actually happen, but I still believe that somewhere along the line, Alexa Bliss and Lily will become the women's tag team champions.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, it shudders me to say it, but just take away my creative mind and put myself in WWE's creative. I can see it happening. And they will have Alexa with a big belt and Lily with this little tiny belt. I can just see it. I can see it now.
I can see Vince McMahon's smile on his face now, going wider and wider and wider, just listening to things, thinking, someone's got the exact same idea I have.
Yeah. He's just going, and they think that it can't happen, and we put the title on our doll.
Good shirt, pal.
Yeah. Right, let's get out of this before the years us anyway. So we'll go on to the next match. Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Good solid match for me. I haven't been a big fan of this feud. I feel like Drew is probably in the same kind of position as Dean Ambrose, and he's been at the top for quite a long time, and we've had to shift him back down the card again, let him patter along for a little bit until he gets the big push again, which, to be fair, let's all agree he deserves after the way that he carried the WWE through the pandemic era, or the front of the dome era, as you want to call it. Well, no, it was the pandemic, really, because he was with no crowds in the performance centre in the first part of it, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's go to you first, Zane, on this one, and what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just have one question. What was the point of Drew having the sword ringside? Like, apart from the part at the end where he just swings it at them. But I thought there was going to be more of a role the sword would have played. I don't know how. I just hope that everyone was safe in the procedure that went down. Just something was going to come out of my mouth that would have been too much PG for here. But anyways, good, fair match. As I said on the podcast before, like, they could have done so much more with this feud, with all the history going in, them being released on the same day in 2014, Jinder coming back first, becoming WWE champion, Drew coming back later, becoming a WWE champion, but they took a totally different route. I don't have a problem with the match itself. Two good in-ring competitors put on a match that could have happened on a Raw as well. But that's all.
Yeah, but I just think at least it gets them on the cards, and it doesn't overexpose them, but it gets them on the cards, and it keeps them in people's minds and keeps them there and thereabouts. What's your thoughts, Steve?
I'm much the same as Zane on this match. It was all right. I'm glad it's over and they can move on to something new. Jinder's not amazing, but he wrestled a decent enough match. It was acceptable. I don't think we were going to get much more than what we got. Like Zane said, the sword thing is just baffling to me. It's like the guy's taking a lethal weapon to the ring with him every time. And I like that he's named it after his late mother. It's a really nice touch. And I don't want to start dissing the sword on that sort of reason. Okay, yeah, I just said that. But at the same time, it's like, what's the deal with it? I don't understand why he comes out and puts it in the stage. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get the sword thing, but the match itself, it was all right,
Yeah, okay. Well, I hope for the sake of our guarding invisible hand, Alex, that we get a Punjabi prison match at Extreme Rules. Because I feel like he's gonna be very upset if we don't. So fingers crossed we get that for you, Alex. And
that's Alex's dream match. That he really wants a Punjabi prison match to happen.
Okay, so we move on to our next match. Sheamus, the champion, versus Damian Priest, contender for the United States Championship match. Again, really solid match. I thought it was a bit sluggish in points in the middle, but overall, really good match. And I thought the right decision. I thought Damian Priest has done a stand-up job. He's done a great job through the whole Bad Bunny stuff. And, let's face it, the way that he kept his composure during his 1,000,001 matches with The Miz, and he managed to escape a zombie apocalypse. So he deserves the title win. What's your thoughts on that one, Zane?
I feel like it was the right call to have Priest win it. I don't mind. This is one of the rare occasions where I don't mind them running it back, because I actually feel like these are two really good competitors, and I wouldn't mind them seeing in the ring again, because over the past year, Sheamus has had a great spell so late into his career. He's like, I think 40, 41 right now, and he's been putting on bangers against Drew earlier this year, against Riddle at Mania, and he's been absolutely fantastic. Although it wasn't his best match last night at SummerSlam, but it was still pretty amazing, and I would love to see what Damian Priest could do with the US title. And moving forward, maybe they're prepping him up for a Rumble win, possibly. Maybe he's one of those contenders where you have in mind, or Riddle is one, Priest might be one. There are a few names here and there. But yeah, I would love to see him with the US title and see what he does with it.
The one thing that I do hope to do with Priest now is I feel like, even though he's being front and centre on the feud with Bad Bunny and Miz, and he's obviously been with Morrison and Miz for a long time, and these feuds that dragged on forever, I don't feel like we personally got to know the character well enough. I felt like he was just he didn't really speak too much, or, let it kind of get his personality over. So I wouldn't mind seeing in this title round just actually getting to connect with the character a lot more. I mean, I know we all like the character, but really connect with him like a superstar kind of one. So hopefully in this title reign we'll get to see a lot more of Damian Priest, and a lot more substance rather than them just being there, which seems to be the case recently. What's your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I am glad that it seems like they're pulling the trigger a bit harder on Damian Priest. I really like Sheamus. I'm always big on Sheamus. I like Sheamus matches. He's a slugger. He's a big lad. He hits hard. The matches are always kind of entertaining. Sometimes it can be a bit slow, but they're entertaining. Like you say about the Bad Bunny stuff, I was not a fan of the Bad Bunny stuff and the Miz stuff. That was just a complete turn off for me. So this is a match I wasn't too focused on. I was skipping through. I was watching it out the corner of my eye. But what I seen was really good, and I'm happy that he's won. And they're building a star. You know what I mean? They're not just putting him in and making him lose to bigger stars. They're actually building him correctly, and they're taking a shot with him. I like that.
Yeah. And this is one thing, just as a bit of a segue, this is one thing that really annoys me with WWE at the moment, and it seems like they're actually trying to fix that now with the likes of Damian Priest, is I feel like for so long they've neglected the mid-card, and the mid-card's being looked as filler matches, and everything's being thrown into the main event.
Yeah.
Where the rest of the card's just thrown together to facilitate the main event. Mm-hmm. And I feel like your main event scene eventually, which we're starting to see now, is going to struggle because of that. Because like now, for instance, with Bobby Lashley, he's just seen off Goldberg. Where do we go next? Because the mid-card doesn't really look like there's anything there that could really do much, which is interesting. I know the draft's coming up, so we could see a few swaps, but I was looking at the likes of I think SummerSlam 99 or 98, I can't remember which one it was, and it was The Rock Triple H. That was a ladder match for the Intercontinental title. And I just feel like them mid-card championships don't mean much anymore. Just to reference, what I mean is Shinsuke Nakamura coming out to make an entrance on SummerSlam. And that was it. We could have had a match on there if that's what you wanted to do, but hey, just let's let us enter, let him sing the song. And it's lazy booking, and there's not enough with the mid-cards. Where I think people forget the night SummerSlam when Rock and Triple H fought for the Intercontinental belt. The main event was Rock versus Undertaker. Austin versus Undertaker.
Yeah.
So again, it's like that was the main event, but that match was just as important to me, and I think it was important to everybody else at the time. Where it seems, apart from the main events, there's not really a big.
Yeah, it's just a big gap.
Yeah, there's a big gap between the middle of the card and the co-main events and main events.
It's actually quite worrying when you think about it. I mean, if you look at Raw at the moment, pre-draft, at the top of the card, you've got Goldberg and Bobby Lashley. Now, unless you've got a strong mid-card to actually make the shows entertaining, people are only going to tolerate that for so long because...
That's it. And I think the draft is just a waste of time because it's just predetermined on what they want. Now, if that was me, I always say that with characters, the best characters are the ones that reflect their true light as close to the real life as they can. Godfather, for instance, Charles Wright and The Godfather, if you actually put them into one together, they're not far off from being the same person. You know, he tried the Papa Shango gimmick, Cameron Mustafa, and when he finally got to that one, that done well for him. Steve Austin with the ringmaster when he becomes Stone Cold. Rocky Maivia when he was coming out with the big smile and the colourful gear. But when he became The Rock, that's when we went to town. Do you know what I mean? Hunter Hearst Helmsley with the Butterbed gimmick, the same thing. On and on and on. The draft for me, what they need to do is they need to go to Fox and to the USA and say to them, we are going to do an actual draft. So we're not going to interfere in this because we believe in our creative teams, and whatever you make that, and whichever way you make these drafts land, we're going to be able to write TV for it, right? Yeah. And say to them, we're going to simulcast it on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night on both channels at the same time, and you have both got to go back and forward and draft pick for the talent that you want. And you get your executives, fine, go. And I tell you what television that'd be.
It actually would be. Yeah, it actually would be fun.
That would be fantastic. You know, show Vincent Mann's got some great food still.
Yeah. But it's probably not going to happen anyway. No. So we'll move on to our next match. Edge versus Seth Rollins. What an entrance by Edge. I love the way that they incorporated the two as well, where they done the Brood entrance, where, you know, I used to love that entrance when I was younger. I think it would have been brilliant if Gangrel would have come in for that one. But obviously not. And then the way that they went into his normal, they just done everything perfect for the entrance. The match was a really, really good match, as we expected. I thought it was the best match on the card. I did predict it to be the best match on the card, and in my personal opinion, it was. Jane, what about you? What did you think on that?
Yeah, absolutely, hands down, match of the night. And as you said, the entrance was just brilliant. I had popped hard for the Brood music, and then the transition to metaling that was pretty good. But yeah, both of them were on their A game. But then again, when are they not? These are two world-class athletes in the ring going at it. And the thing that made it all the more better was the fact that they had such a good story going in. That they had the best story going in, and they had the best match. One of the contenders for Feud of the Year for me. But
when I talk about middle of the card, I don't class Edge and Seth Rollins as mid cards. I class them as the upper echelon of the card.
Yeah.
One thing I will say as well is I think this was a win-win because I feel like this feud can continue. And to be honest, I want this feud to continue. And I feel like Rollins' character at losing this match could actually benefit the story, because we could see weeks now of Rollins coming out and throwing his toys out the pram and that wasn't fair and I didn't lose that Edge, you know, and then we could go on from there into Extreme Rules. Stephen, your thoughts?
I mean, this is one of the few matches I didn't really watch yet, so I need to go back and watch this. So I can only really talk about the build. I mean, before the match, I expected this would be one of the better matches on the card because you've got Edge, you've got Rollins, they're solid performers. The build up to it, the lead up, like on SmackDown, was a bit fishy, you know. Like the whole black Brood bath, because they're not allowed to say the word blood, that just turned it off. That turned me off the whole thing. So I was like, come on. Like, it's just red, like, without it being red and looking like blood, it's just a Nickelodeon spot. It was a bit kids' TV for me. It took me out of the thing. But I mean, that said, I thought it would be one of the best matches, and by everything I've heard, apparently it was one of the more solid matches on the card. It's good that Seth's toning his character down from the really cringy Messiah thing that he had going last year. And it's probably a match I'm going to watch in the next few days. I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I probably should. For me, it's just the build for it was just a bit of a turn off.
Yeah, the match was really, really good. I mean, I think like on this card, if you went off build alone, you wouldn't have watched it at all, because I think the build for all matches was pretty poor. But you know, when I looked at this card, I was identifying matches that I thought could have been really good technical in-ring matches, because, as I say, the build just wasn't there. But anyway, we'll move on to the next match. As I say, guys, this isn't in chronological order in terms of the pay-per-view, but so what to me. The Usos versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Again, I will always say it, and I'll say it again, the Usos do not have a bad match, and it was the same here in this case. Solid little match. Rey Mysterio involved in that with the Usos is never going to be a bad match, and Dominic's becoming a really good worker. I'm going to say this now, and I've been thinking this for a while, and I think I have mentioned it a couple of times on various podcasts and videos, but I think that WWE are building to a Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio feud. we're starting to see little bits of it coming in where, you know, like Dominic's not listening to his dad, or his dad saying, listen to me, I'll take care of this. And what have you, Zane, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, stole the words right out of my mouth. Because I think that Dominic versus Ray could be a very interesting feud. Because you see, I was chatting with a friend of mine who's much older than me. And I was like, well, I resonate more with Dominic because I'm of his age, and Ray's having when you see it from my perspective, like from a 19-year-old, you're saying like his parent is being a bit too overprotective of him, like not letting him be independent. And the person I was talking to him, they were like, well, he's a rookie. He needs to listen to his father. His father's fucking Rey Mysterio, one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of story here. And I would actually love to see how it goes. But I don't know which one would turn heel. Obviously, the way they're going, Dom might turn heel. But then again, he has such a pure babyface look. I have no clue.
In my opinion, I think Ray turns heel. I feel like Ray's coming down to the end of his career. And don't forget, Rey Mysterio owns the Rey Mysterio brand. Obviously, he's got deals with WWE based on that, but I think that was the whole point in Dominic coming in, was eventually him to take over the Rey Mysterio moniker and brand to keep it going, obviously in the luchador style. I feel like Ray being the older father, and I'm going to teach you everything, and I'm going to tell you, and in the end, Dominic beats him, and Ray goes, "Okay, son, you've earned me respect." Off the mask, here you go. Yeah. You carry on the name,
just beat
and
me
then
to
we're
it.
away to the
that's how I can see this comes to end, regardless of who's the face. It's going to end in like mask for mask or mask versus hair, whatever. I'm not sure if Dominic has any hair. So it's going to be something like that. You know, the ultimate luchador insult, respect, tribute, whatever. Where you're going to swing it. You know, and then Rey Mysterio is going to retire from there. I know he intends to finish his career at WWE. As an active wrestler, so
and if he's bringing his son up in the meantime, then why not? You know,
so it'd be a great turn, a great actual showing of in-ring storytelling and character development, and just structures from WWE after such a really turbulent matches being thrown together for the sake of being thrown together, and just taking all the focus away from the mid cards. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I don't want to see is a mask versus whatever mask match. No. I'd love it to be, you know, the father-son match, and Dominic comes out on top, and as a sign of respect, he's like, "Oh, I didn't think you were ready." That way, rather than it be forced on him. Have that moment, have that proud moment where the father realizing the son's growing into the person that can live on with the Rey Mysterio name. Steve, what do you think on that?
Yeah, this is again one of the few matches I wasn't watching. It's a match I've not been engaged in. I've not been super into the whole storyline. I mean, I think it's cool. Rey's tagging with his son. Dominic Mysterio's getting a shot, but it just wasn't that interesting to me. I'm more interested to see where they're going afterwards with this. Like you said, if they're teasing this son versus father feud, I am more interested in, right, who's going to be the heel? Who's going to be the face here? Is it going to be the son that's demanding respect and taking it out on his dad, or or are they going to turn Rey Mysterio, who I think turning Rey would be the worst move possible, because he's like the biggest, I mean, metaphorically biggest babyface there is. Like,
but do you not think that is for the good of the storyline, where he's the father trying to teach the son some respect, and then
I don't think that's the case. I think I think turning Rey Mysterio heel would be one of the all-time worst things you could do in wrestling. It's just some characters you should never turn. That's the equivalent of telling Grado to turn heel.
But if it's the necessity of getting to where we need to be with Dominic, then becoming the big baby face with the mask on afterwards, where if Dominic's the heel and takes the mask off, Ray eventually as a heel, I mean, you know,
it could be that, or there could be other ways to get to that point without there's ways to do that without getting to that point. You don't necessarily need to turn Ray heel, you know. It could be more of a face versus face, but Ray's just trying to shake his son up. He's like, "Come on, son, what's happening?" The son's like, "Nah, you're doing this bad." When we know that Ray's not being bad, he's just being a concerned father, and that could lead up to them that exact same end goal of, right, you've earned my respect, son. here's the mask, whatever. My only concern with taking the mask is, like, I would prefer the passing of the Rey Mysterio name and mask to be up to Rey Mysterio. I don't think it should be left up to WWE to book it as a story.
I think but for Rey Mysterio, I think like he will, you know, he's been around the business that long and he knows that there's a story there to be told.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I don't think it's up to WWE. I think Rey will be the one pushing for that storyline.
I would think,
when he retires, it leaves his son in a good place.
Yeah, I would hope so, because we've already seen him unmasked by a company when he should never have been unmasked. That happened in WCW, and he should have never been lost his mask then. He should have never been in that situation. It's a mask with legacy. The Rey Mysterio name has a lot of legacy behind it, because as we know, Rey's the second Rey Mysterio. He's like, and I think it's just got to be done right. And I mean, there's always, for as old as Rey is getting, and I've seen him in the indies just in the last couple of years before he went back to WWE, he's still awesome. And if he leaves WWE, he'll be wanting to keep that mask because he's going to still want his bookings and he's going to want to sell merch. So, but I could see that coming. If Rey is looking up to hang his boots up and pass the torch, that would be a really good way to do it. And it's right, because I mean, who else is there out there just now he could pass that to?
Yeah,
there's no one I know.
Okay, well, we'll move on to our next match. Bianca Belair first champion versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown's Women's title. I'm going to say it like that because right up until they were showing the video package before the entrances, that's what we were getting. WWE disgusting in that sense. I get that, you know, Sasha was out, but the way they sometimes book matches and keep advertising, even though they know there's no way, and you can turn around and say it was to get the surprise for Becky. Bullshit. For me, it was just doing what you do and making it out like a match is still going to happen when it isn't. But as it were, we got an announcement that Sasha was unable to compete. Carmella come out to have the match with Bianca. Bianca looked so fed up, and you can turn around and say that she was acting, but I think she was fed up because she knew what was coming next. You know, and as we get the match is about to get underway, Becky Lynch makes a return, massive pop, great for her, well done. Comes to the ring, gets rid of Carmella, says to Bianca, let's, you know, me and you, which Bianca accepts. Whack bang, I think it was just rock bottom, wasn't it? Match was over. Yeah, match was over. Becky Lynch is new champion. For me personally, nobody comes out of this well. Poor Bianca, who's done so well, and we've watched her grow right in front of our eyes, and how well she's become as champion and everything else, just to have it took away from her like that. And I think for Becky as well is, you know, everyone, it's been a really big anticipated return, and I don't feel like WWE have done her any favours in how they booked this for the return. We'll go to Zayn first.
Yeah, WWE sure does know how to ruin a moment. Like if you backtrack, if you backtrack like 3 or 4 months, Bianca Belair had a career-defining moment when she defeated Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. And at SummerSlam, like, first of all, that was promotional malpractice. According to Dave Meltzer, they knew 8 days ago that Sasha wasn't going to be able to make it to the match. And they were still promoting it, which was absolutely baffling to me. And the fact that they had Becky Lynch come out and beat Bianca Belair, one of their top stars and probably the best star in the women's division, and they had her lose to Becky in 27 seconds. That's just a testament to WWE booking and what they think of their top stars, what they think of the stars that are going to carry the company into the next day, into the next era. So yeah, I'm absolutely not a fan of what happened that day.
No, same here, Bull. Steve, your thoughts?
I am as pissed off about this as you are, Andy. Like, I just think this was just disgusting. Like, we found out at the same time when Sasha wasn't going to be in, and I think we were about half an hour into SummerSlam, then the news started leaking out, and I just could not believe it. It was such total BS to pull that on people. It's just straight up dicking your fans about. There are people that watch that to watch Sasha. They like Sasha. Yeah, sure, Bianca's huge. Becky's huge and she's the man and all that, but they watch for Becky. They tuned in to see Becky, the rematch of the Becky versus Sasha match. A rematch, and like, it just blows my mind that they do that. And then
I think we mentioned on the review show as well, Steve, that we didn't feel like Becky needed the belt on a return.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, what really annoys me about this is, and I've said it already in this, one of the best parts of wrestling is the chase. People chasing, have storylines develop. Because at the end of the day, the only storyline you ever need in wrestling is that person A wants to beat person B in either a match for kudos or for a title or something like that. It's wrestling. It's a fight. That's what it is. For them to just do that devalues so much. It devalues the whole chase. It devalues people trying to be better and winning matches on Raw or SmackDown or whatever to get to a point where they can get to a big title match at SummerSlam. I just, like, on so many levels, it was just terrible. And worst of all, it is a complete waste of time. Like, they've just rushed Becky back because Punk's came back and they're wanting a big pop. Now, that's fair enough. But they did not need to give her. She shouldn't even need to be in the match. You know, she definitely should not have got the title that much. I mean, they've just through the whole program of Becky coming back, working her way back to the top and getting a championship. They've taken all that and just thrown it away. They've totally ignored it as if it doesn't matter. It's why?
And the fact that Becky's so much of a star, she doesn't need that title anyway.
No, like she doesn't need it.
Take her time.
It's just so like self-destructive, just so pointless. And I mean, even worse, to add insult to injury, the story is going round just now where Becky's coming back as a heel. Which is just even more mind-blowing. They're like, and that's apparently why they've did it this way. And again, it's just like, right,
I don't even think
it's like making Scotty Too Hotty a heel. It's like making Hulk. It's just bizarre. I don't understand it.
To be honest, though, I don't even see this progressing it as a heel. If she was to come out and just attacked Bianca without taking the title off her, that makes she the heel.
Yeah, it does.
This way, doesn't it?
This is just a fucking joke.
Yeah, WWE is so stupid in the fact that they just don't realise that the heat goes onto them, not onto the character there. Joe, what's your thoughts?
I'm angry at it. I've you know, it's just once again, like you guys, like Steve has said, it's Vincent McMahon basically, not WWE. It's Vincent McMahon taking all options, throwing them out the window. This is what we're going to do. We'll do it my way. Never mind progression. Never mind what we've done to build this whole division up and all the people we've got. We could get going for the title instead. Let's bring Becky Lynch back in, give her the belt. Everyone's going to be happy. There, case closed.
Yeah,
and it's just not. It's just complete. Lazy. It's just. Oh, it's so it makes me so angry. I can't think straight.
Okay, well, we'll move on to our next match. I think I've punished us all enough with that. So the next match we had on the card was Nikki ASH champion versus Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. The actual match, I'm going to say here, because I don't want to take away from the performers, was a great match. And actually, you know, they put it all out there, and you know, the actual Nikki was involved in a lot of it as well, which was really nice to see. She shows she can hang at that main event level. We had the Charlotte win in the end. For me, I just don't get why they have to keep putting the belt on Charlotte. They keep going on about how she's this great performer. Her father is a big one for it. Bangs the Charlotte Flair drum constantly. Anyone that'll listen and things. For me personally, where I say Becky doesn't need the title, Charlotte for some reason can't get by without it, and that's where I think where people go on saying how much of a great she is. For me, she's not, because unless she's involved in the title picture or she's the champion, she looks out of place, and for me, that shows a bit of a weakness in her character. Steve?
I mean, you've pretty much said everything. My main take from the match is that people are just not getting with Nikki Ash's character, and I feel terrible for her. She's a really good worker. She's clearly putting her heart into this. Apparently, it's one of her own storyline ideas, and it's just not working. It's just not hitting with the fans. People are just not into it. They're just not reacting, and if they're not reacting, they're booing, which is possibly even worse than them not reacting.
But you think that sounds a bad booking, though, because, you know, there's a lot of stuff
down to everything.
With the almost a superhero, you could have had nearly get. I mean, I feel like she she went for the title too soon. She could nearly get to there, and then in the end, she becomes the superhero she always wanted to be. And a bit like the Baron Corbin story, where somebody's almost there and not kind of getting it, but when Corbin gets to the top, it'll be this big pop. I think, you know, I can see him going to the moon with this character, and I feel like they dropped the ball with Nikki there.
Yeah, I would agree with you totally. I think it's a classic case of WWE's ADHD booking, where they don't really see the future. They can only really see 2 weeks to a month ahead of them, 2 weeks to a month behind them, and they just live in that single moment, and they just do, well, let's do this, and I feel bad for her because it's not working. When I watch the character personally, I just think it's just lame as hell. I'm like, why would you want to almost be a superhero? You're either a superhero or you're not. Yeah.
I mean, you can almost be one as long as there's a pathway to get you to be one. I suppose that's the thing, where it seemed like she was happy just being almost, isn't it, Joe? Which
I mean, it's just weird. Like, she's like, her character is like, if I was like let's say I was almost a superhero, I'd be confident in my abilities. I'm like, I'm almost a superhero. I'm confident that I can beat people. I'm confident I can fight crime. I'm confident I could take on the big bosses. She's not. She's like, well, I think I could do it. I'm going to maybe do it. It's like,
do you know the bit for me that really got me was when she turned around and went, like me, you can almost be a superhero. Yeah. I was like, why would I almost want to be one?
Exactly. It's like, you want to be a super. Like,
I don't want to be one. Yeah. You know, it's like, why would I almost want to be successful? Why would I almost want to drive a car? Why would I almost want to be a father? You know, it's just, I wouldn't almost, I either want to be one or what I don't. And, you know,
exactly.
If you're training along the way, I mean, you could have done so many vignettes with this and how she's training to become from almost to the superhero and the story behind it and stuff. And it's just lazy booking, Zane, your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like it takes away from Nikki's Money in the Bank win because they rushed it. She won the title, she won the briefcase, and then cashed in the next night, and she lost it a few weeks later. I don't see the point in having her cash in so early. Like, wait it out. As you said, Andy, they could have built to an almost superhero angle a bit longer. They could have slow burned it, maybe waited 2 or 3 months, because we know that Nikki might not stay in the title picture for long because her loss, well, they're going to go back to, I think, Charlotte, or Charlotte maybe faces Alexa. Maybe she goes back to feuding with her never-ending feud with Rhea Ripley. But
do you see Bianca Belair coming over to Raw on the draft?
I
feel like them two would have a really good matches to have out of them two.
Yeah. One person I really want to see come back. Like, obviously Bianca might come back, as you said, but I really want to see Bayley come back. Like, who doesn't though? But I really want to see her come back to.
I mean, she's out for a long while, isn't she? Unfortunately,
9 months, wasn't it?
Yeah. And what's your thoughts on like Charlotte Flair and the title? You know, do you agree with my comments on the fact that she can't not have a title or be in the title
ridiculous.
picture?
And
as I say, to me, it just shows lack of character depth in the fact that she has to be the queen, the main event, and if she's not there, she's not. I think Ric Flair had that kind of transitional period before he found Evolution. When he first come back into WWE, he kind of, because he wasn't the man at the top, I think he struggled for a bit and he was kind of treading water until Triple H picked him up and put him with them, you know. But anyway, we'll move on to the next match. Bobby Lashley, Goldberg. I thought they'd done a really good. Move around at first, just slowed it down a little bit because obviously everybody goes 2 minutes, it's done, and I feel like they kind of got past that little bit. The bit for me that made me laugh was when MVP hit Goldberg with the stick. And if you go back and watch this match, you can count to 4 on your fingers before Goldberg actually sells it. It's Bobby, like, MVP hits him, moves the cane, pulls it away, pulls it down, and Goldberg goes.
Oh yeah, that hurts.
You know, I don't know whether MVP has hit him with the stick and implanted some kind of device and then pulled it down and pressed the button, because that's what it seemed like.
Mind you, Goldberg's been pretty banged up, so it could be nerve damage.
Yeah. Oh god. But yeah, Bobby Lashley worked him over. In the end, we got the disqualification or the stoppage due to injury, and his son come in. He hit him with the Kurt Lock for 1 or 2 seconds, which his son just didn't sell at all. Which, but he's a 15-year-old kid. And for me, it wasn't too much of a coincidence that just before this match took place, they advertised their return to Saudi. So obviously Goldberg wants some of that Crown Prince money, doesn't he? I know he says he's only contracted to 2 pay-per-views a year. Yes, he is. But when the Crown Prince comes in and requests Goldberg versus Yokozuna, and Vince McMahon unfortunately tells him Yoko's not with us no more, but we can have Goldberg, and he goes, "Oh, get as much money behind him as possible." So I've heard of the Crown Prince asking for Ultimate Warrior and getting a job on when he couldn't have him. So we're definitely going to see Goldberg a crown jewel. It's a bit disappointing in the fact that now we're going to see this build up to Goldberg and Lashley again, and the Raw title goes into a bit of
disarray again.
More limbo. I'd say more limbo, because between now and the crown jewel, that Raw title's not going to really be in a significant feud, is it?
No, it's not.
Which is kind of disappointing. It wouldn't surprise me if we didn't even see it defended on Extreme Rules because of the match with Goldberg at Crown Jewel that we're definitely going to get. But yeah, apart from that, what about yourself, Steve? What do you think of this match?
This was one of the ones where I had the stopwatch out. I was wanting to see how long it would go, because we know that Goldberg can usually only go like 5 minutes. Then it's end of the match time. This, for a Goldberg match, I thought it was a lot better than some of the ones he's had in the last 2-3 years. He actually impressed me for a bit. The first 5 minutes were pretty good. There was a few bits that looked like he was like brain himself, but other than that, it was good. It told a good story. When you got into the last 3 minutes of the match, you could tell he was starting to tire. Things were starting to get a bit sloppy. My only real bugbear with the finish is the finish with the match. You know what I mean? It's like Bobby Lashley gets disqualified because there's too much. He's beating someone up. Well, that's literally the point of the match. It's wrestling. The whole point is to beat someone up. It's like, if it's a knockout, it's a knockout. I don't understand those sort of finishes. Like, I just think they're a bit weak. I guess they just wanted to. I don't know. I mean, I'm struggling to find reasons why you would do that. It was funny.
Just to get him through to Saudi.
Yeah, we got a bit of casual child abuse from Bobby Lashley. You know what I mean? He beats up 15-year-old Gage. It's like, okay, whatever, go WWE. But yeah, I thought it was a non-offensive Goldberg match. It wasn't that bad in the slightest. I thought it was kind of good for a Goldberg match.
Okay, guys. Zayd, sorry, I'll let you have your rant on Goldberg.
Yeah, I won't say much. I just got a few good laughs out of it. Apart from obviously the part where MVP knocks him in the back of his leg with a stick, then Goldberg takes like 10 or 20 seconds to sell it. The part at the end where he has Gage in his hands and he's shouting at Bobby Lashley, "I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" That part was really funny to me, at least. I don't think it was meant for comedic purposes, but yeah, I found it funny. And yeah, I
couldn't take
like
it seriously.
Yeah, I couldn't take it seriously.
Okay, so we'll move on to the main event. Roman Reigns, champion, versus John Cena for the Universal title, or as I like to call it, the Blue Universal champion. Great match this. I thought it was really, really good. Some really high spots in this match. If I was going to critique this match, it was the fact how many roll-ups did Cena try. It made Cena look weak. And I didn't really like that. But overall, not a bad match. After the match ended, we seen the return of Brock Lesnar. Big pop for this. I'm happy with this. Him coming back now. The look on Paul Heyman's face was just absolutely priceless. It was brilliant. But if you haven't, I know I only really noticed it much the second time around watching it. But if you go back to just that bit and rewatch it and just watch Heyman's reaction, it's fantastic. And we've got a new Brock Lesnar. Looks like he's going to be a baby face. He's got a really casual look. Looks like a Viking for me. And I was happy with that. Steve, we'll go to you first on this one, mate.
Make sure I'm not muted. Yeah, it was a solid Cena match. Like a lot of people give Cena stick, total unwarranted. But if he's in a match, especially at the main event, he's going to perform. For someone that's not been in the ring really full time in 2-3 years, something like that, maybe 2 years. I think the last time he was really in the program with Wyatt, he looked fantastic. He looked really good, and that's what I expect. That's why he's called Big Match John, you know. The match it was good, it was solid. I didn't really expect Cena to win. I think that's why he was there. He's there to try and make Roman look strong, you know. He's there to give him the rub. I think it was all about the finish. Brock Lesnar making the appearance, making the comeback. I think that probably took the shine off of the match in people's opinion, in people's minds. I know it definitely did in minds. I love the new Brock look was great. Babyface Brock is possibly more scarier than heel Brock because babyface Brock's going to have a laugh, a joke, a smile with you. But if you say the wrong thing, he's going to suplex you through a wall, you know? It's terrifying. Yeah. The new look's great. It was just, it's refreshing to see him. Again, I would like to think this was what they were always going to do, but I doubt it was. I think this is yet another reactionary move to counter CM Punk in his return. Was it needed? I don't know. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know if they're going to have Brock feud with Reigns. I would imagine they are. What's the feud going to be about? Is it going to be about Paul Heyman? Is it going to be about what way does Paul Heyman go? Does Paul Heyman turn face with Brock or what?
The only gripe I've got with this one is I feel like Heyman needs to stay with Reigns, especially if we're going to go into the Rock program. But also I feel like between now and November, where the Rock's meant to return, whether that happens or not, obviously there's been conflicting reports. I just don't feel like it's enough time for that feud to really mature between Lesnar and Reigns.
Yeah, you know, I would agree with that.
For me, it could last the rest of the year for me. But yeah, I don't know. Zane, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm only excited for Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns ladder match for the custody of Paul Heyman. But apart from that,
yes, that's a good idea, man.
Heyman in a cage. Heyman in a little cage suspended above the ring.
Yeah, but apart from that, I actually like the story going into the match, and I like how they played it out by Cena saying that. See, I got buried by saying this on Reddit, but I actually really enjoyed the roll-ups because the whole story was that Reigns can beat up Cena, but all Cena needs is a 1, 2, 3, and like he was obviously coming back to the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling. Roll-up has had the most wins in any match than any other move in wrestling. So yeah, I like the match. I'm really looking forward to Lesnar versus Reigns. Hope they do. See, this is different from the last 20, 40 times they've faced each other because now we have 2 different alignments. And I'd love to see the full-grown beard and ponytail Lesnar go head-to-head with Reigns now. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Cool.
Okay, doke. Right, so Steve, you're gonna drop off now, aren't you? So
I am dropping off now.
Thanks very much for joining us. Really
before I leave, I just want to put on record that Walter versus Dragunov was probably the best match I have seen all this weekend. Maybe one of the best matches I've seen this year. I don't think WWE is going to top this match in years to come. I think it was brilliant. But on that, I'm going to let you all go for just now. And
thanks very much, Steve. We're going to move on to brilliant. Thanks, mate. Take care now, Steve. Okay, so Joe, what I'll do is I'm going to hand over to you just to give us a quick roundup here. I know we're struggling for time now with the pod, so just give us a quick roundup of the Impact action that happened.
Okay, Emergence on Friday, we kicked off with Matt Cardona versus Rohit Raju. Cardona got the win, which was quite surprising given how he lost to Shira earlier in the week, and I was suspecting that Raju might use that momentum to capitalize, but quite surprisingly, Cardona won. It was a pretty solid match from Cardona, a really solid match from Rohit Raju, win-win regardless for both of them. We then had Madison Rayne, he made a return this week, versus Taylor Wild. Madison Rayne now to Neil Dashford after a very, very turbulent start to their relationship, and Madison Rayne retiring from pro wrestling. She's now given a reason why she's come back and everything this week as well, of this last Thursday before Emergence. And again, another good match. Nothing really too much to talk about, but it did set up that it's set going forward. It's looking good. We then had one of the most entertaining early matches. We had Decay, which was Havoc, Rosemary, Crazy Steve, and Black Taurus versus No Way, followed by Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans in a really entertaining, crowd-pleasing 4-on-4 tag match. This was really there to entertain the fans. This match, it really did feed off the fact that once again the Impact is capitalizing on there's a live crowd back now. Let's get them integrated. Let's get them excited. And let's get them hyped up for the rest of the night. And they did a lot of this online afterwards, especially Rosemary. She and Decay got the win in this match. Pretty good turnout there. We then got on to Steve Macklin versus P.T. Williams, and this was quite an interesting match too. P.T. Williams had a very early advantage in this match, and part of me was thinking he might get the ultimate upset. He might actually beat Steve Macklin, who's been on an absolute roll since he's come to Impact Wrestling, destroying everybody. But Macklin did eventually capitalize, and once that proved once again he's someone that Impact Wrestling has got a strong building up for in the future, and it was a really entertaining match there. We then got Moose versus Chris Saban versus Davies Austin versus Sally Callahan, and the winner goes on to face the winner of Myers versus Christian at Victory Road for the Impact Wrestling World title. I'm going to get a chair shot for mentioning the other company now because that belt's been retired. This was one of the best matches of the night. Great back and forth action between everybody. Ace Austin was my pick to win, and Ace Austin did get the win, so I'm really pleased about that. And it's once again, Impact Wrestling is building up talent that they've had, that they've brought in from kept going from day one. And Ace Austin is one of the guys who really carried the company over the pandemic and pre-pandemic even when Tessa Blanchard became world champion back last January. And Ace Austin was in the title picture there, and the part of me was thinking Ace Austin would be the one to beat Tessa Blanchard at probably Slammiversary, but of course that never came to fruition. So it seems that they've finally got away. They've got a way around to get Ace Austin back into the main title hunt, and him versus Christian is going to be really interesting. So eyes open for Victory Road this month. It's in September. We then go into another match of the night, match of the year candidate from Josh Alexander, as he took on Jake Something for the X Division title. This really brought out a lot of what Jake Something has been missing for a very long time, and that was exposure. Everyone knows he's a good wrestler, and Josh Alexander did exactly what he did with Black Taurus when he took him on at Homecoming last month, and that was he took all the lost drive, the lost momentum, the lost hype that his opponent had, and just brought it back up to everyone's face, just why you should be paying attention to this guy. And it was a fantastic match. And match of the night for me, match of the year candidate. It's up there with Josh Alexander versus TJP. It's really worth checking out. Then the match I had the least interest in was Deonna Purrazzo and Matthew Raywald versus Melina and Trey Miguel. Really just to build up to Deonna Purrazzo and Melina as they're facing off at Empowered for the Knockouts Championship, and Deonna Purrazzo and Matthew Raywald got the win. That's the main thing you really need to. The match wasn't anything too special, and then I'm going to get a lot of bitter looks for that, but I wasn't solid on it. So we then got onto the tag team title match between Rich Swann and Willie Mack versus the Good Brothers versus Violent by Design, which was Rhino and Joe Doring representing the whole team. This was a really solid match, especially seeing as earlier on in the week, Joe Doring and Rhino went through the staging area. Doc Gallows and Joe Doring faced off in a match, and they went through the arena. Doc Gallows put Joe Doring in a two-handed choke slam. Both of them crashed through the ring and were out of it for a good 5 or 6 minutes. And that's they just really battered the crap out of each other, and that really put the Good Brothers in a disadvantage for this match coming through, despite Doc Gallows getting the win, and the got soared through this match and got the win in this. So it's an interesting thing is Rhino also got the pinfall in this match. Rhino took the fall. So we might be seeing Rhino getting put in a match in Violent by Design since he's been a part of Violent by Design, and Eric Young doesn't take losing lightly. we see if you guys to see what he did, how he got Dina to transition to joining this group in the first place. It was punishment through failure. So I have a feeling we might be seeing Rhino possibly even getting ejected from the group and somebody else coming in, which is got an interesting talking point, hopefully. And we then moved on to the main event, which was Brian Myers versus Christian Cage for the Impact Wrestling World title. This match just proved why Brian Myers deserved to be in Impact Wrestling and why coming to this company was the right thing. Christian was absolutely solid throughout this entire match, and Brian Myers matched him move for move, moment to moment. It was perfect. Brian Myers' charisma and his whole character has absolutely exploded since he's gone to Impact Wrestling. And like Matt Cardona, they lived in the shadow of who they were at WWE for such a long time. People were expecting them to just flop elsewhere, and he's absolutely catapulted himself to stardom. Christian obviously got the win, but it doesn't take anything away from Brian Myers. It's like we were talking about with Darby Allin and CM Punk. Darby Allin losing to CM Punk, he lost against a big star. Brian Myers lost to one of TNA's biggest names when Christian originally came in. So this match was awesome, and kudos to Brian Myers for going through it, and kudos to Christian for coming back home and bringing the title back home. And
well, Joe, thanks so much for the Impact Roundup. Obviously, I always look forward to it every week. I know there's so much wrestling, and I can't keep up with it all, but it's always lovely to hear your roundup, and it keeps me in the loop. And I'm sure it does with everybody who watches this. It's really, really important to us at the moment. And for me, me personally,
I recommend that you guys check out Homecoming and you check out Emergence if you want to a reason to watch Impact Wrestling.
I'll check it out tonight.
These last few Impact Plus specials and Summerversary have really, really been solid.
Yeah, it's on my list of stuff to do because I know we're like the pay-per-views calming down a little bit now.
Yeah,
and it's not as much as a busy schedule. I'll have a bit of free time to catch up with stuff like that, so I definitely will be checking them out. Okay, so we're just going to run on to a quick scope over NXT Takeover. First match of the night we had was Cameron Grimes versus LA Knight for the $1 Million Championship. Quite a solid match. I think the result in the end was always going to happen. It was a good little feel-good moment, and looks like $1 Million Man sticking around to partner Grimes or to manage him, as it were. One thing that I will say in this is the $1 million dreams from Ted and Grimes were both very, very slack and not very believable in that match, but hey ho, is what it is. Next match we had Raquel Gonzalez versus Dakota Kai. Good solid match again. Thought these two really worked to make this this match work well. And Raquel Gonzalez won this match at the end, defeating Kai. I think Kai is going to the main roster now from some of the rumours that I've heard today. We did then have Kylie Ray turn up. Looks like she's going to be the next challenger for Dakota. For me personally, being a Brit myself and one of our NXT UK stars showing up there is really great to see again. And I'm looking forward to that feud and see how it progresses. Next match, talking about UK Championships, NXT UK, we had Walter versus Dragunov. What a match. If you want to see what a match should look like, and, if Dave Meltzer doesn't give this high stars, not that it matters, but, it just shows you that he's got to rate this high, because what a match. Absolutely brilliant, start to finish. I seen a picture of Dragunov after the fact. I don't know if you've seen it. I mean, for yourself, Joe, I know if you haven't seen the actual pay-per-view, same as yourself, guys, type in Dragunov's chest and just look at the welts and the bruising on his chest from the slaps from Walter. But give Walter his due. It's not like Walter's a bully. Walter was taking it just as much as he was giving it out, and these two just put on an absolute highlight reel match. For me, one of the matches of the year so far. And then going on to one of the other matches from the year, but not this one. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. Very disappointing, considering, as people are saying, it's a swan song for Adam Cole. O'Reilly got the first pin in the normal rules match. Adam Cole won the street fight, and then we had about 3 or 4 minutes in the cage. I like the way they were throwing Cole threw O'Reilly under the cage while they were trying to get it set up and stuff like that. I just thought it was kind of all rushed and a bit all over the place. Adam Cole then handcuffed O'Reilly to the cage, but O'Reilly caught him and put the knee bar on for the win in what was Adam Cole's swan song by him. I'm just going to read out, actually. I've just seen an update from Fightful Select that was actually put 16 minutes ago on the Patreon, that Adam Cole had what appeared to be a swan song, as we said, and as Fightful mentions, he has not signed a new contract as of the past weekend. Fightful sources backstage at WWE Raw tonight confirmed he is not planned for tonight's show and in any capacity either. So whether we see Adam Cole go or not, another matter. Me personally, I think he should stick with WWE. I think with the emergence of Punk and the potential debuts of Bryan and Bray Wyatt, I wouldn't like to see him go into there, because I feel like he got lost in the melee, where WWE seem quite persistent to get hold of him at the moment, and I feel like for his career progression, me personally, I'd stay where he was for now, but only time will tell with that. So we went on to our main event, Karrion Kross versus Samoa Joe. Not a great match, not a bad match either. It was just a match. I'd expected it to be a better match between these two, but wasn't too bad. Joe gets the win with the Muscle Buster, which was nice to see that come out again, and he becomes the first ever 3-time NXT champion. Think it's a great move. Obviously, Karrion's already dipping his toe into the main roster. We'll probably see him go up there for good now. That'll be the last time we see him on NXT, and he'll be a main roster wrestler now. But also, I feel like giving it to Samoa Joe is good, because I don't feel like there's many people that could take the belt at present. Where whoever does take the belt off Joe, I think it'll feel more because of that, and he can help develop somebody into that championship match. Maybe Pete Dunne would be a good show for that title next. But only time will tell. Zane, do you want to give us a quick view on your?
Yeah, I really enjoyed TakeOver. It was a great event. But yeah, Dragunov versus Walter was great. I think Cole's going to AEW, but I guess it was for plugging my stuff at the end. Sorry, Adam, I thought it was for the review. You can find me on Twitter at ZenPW.
No, sorry. It was to give your thoughts on the.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I feel like Cole's gonna pull a Lex Luger. I reckon he's gonna show up at Dynamite this week. People hate me for saying this, but I really think he's gonna be on Dynamite this week, because he doesn't have a non-compete clause because his contract expired in July, and this was only an extension. So I feel like, yeah, he's and based on the new Young Bucks bio, they've referenced Cole showing up. So I feel like he's all elite now. Walter versus Dragunov, amazing match, one of the best matches of the year. After Jay White versus Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom 15, this is personally my favorite match of the year. So yeah, amazing all around. I really liked Samoa Joe winning. Maybe now I feel like Cross's appeal has been lost, because the only thing keeping him relevant was the NXT title. I don't know where he goes from here. So yeah.
He looks really, really out of sorts without Scarlett, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Joe, just to get your views on this, if you were Adam Cole, would you stick with WWE or would you go to AEW? I mean, as I say, bear in mind the big, the Punk launch, the Punk debut, and obviously we've got some other stars there, and we're maybe looking at Bryan and miss them wins Barrett. Why are coming in not in too distant future? Would you stick there, or would you, because it seemed like WWE were desperate to keep him? Would you stay with WWE and build your name up a bit more over a new contract, or would you go into there where you're probably not going to be on the upper echelons of the cards based on the other stars that are coming in?
I'd personally if I could, I'd tour company to company and start building a name for myself outside WWE. I wouldn't sign straight to AEW. I would go place to place and wait for all the heat to die down from CM Punk. You know, we got CM Punk, we got Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt most likely definitely coming to AEW. So right now, for anyone who isn't a big name like that, it really is a no-go area because you're just going to, like you said, you're just going to get lost in the mix. So the best thing to do would be to get some exposure elsewhere and then make up your decision whether you want to go back to WWE or whether you want to sign elsewhere.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, just before we do finish, because we were talking about AEW there, just to let you know that the ratings for Rampage came out and it drew 1.16 million, which is massive for them. Just shows you the drawing power of Punk, and obviously I always say the ratings don't tell the whole story. You know, the merchandise sold out the fastest it's ever done and whatnot. So we're starting to see the Punk effect already on AEW. But you know, congrats to them. Really good debut for CM Punk, and I'm excited to see how they do carry on forward. And you know, wrestling as a whole, I'm really you know, happy with it at the moment in terms of I'm excited for the future because I feel the more that AEW do well, the more it'll push WWE to kind of book up their ideas. And then we've got Impact who are doing really well. Ring of Honor are on the way back now. We've got New Japan. It's, you know, it's just brilliant, and that's why I always feel bad that I don't watch Impact. But as I say, unfortunately, there's so much wrestling that it's hard to keep up with everything. But what a time to be a wrestling fan! But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us as always. Just I'd like to thank the two guys for joining us today as well. Zane, where can we find you, mate? And do you want to give your social media handles?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right this time. Twitter, ZanePW. If you follow me, I won't follow you back. Just kidding, I might. So over to you, Joe.
You can find me on Twitter at JKEmptySpace.
Brilliant. Okay, and yeah, as always, you can find me on WrestleBuddy.com, on Twitter at WrestlePC. Obviously, check all our articles out on on WrestleBuddy.com, and also check out some of our other videos, guys. You know, if you haven't already watched the finale of the WrestleBuddies quizzes up. Really, really good episode. I was part of that episode and really enjoyed it as well. So go and check that out and see who was our season 1 winner. Also, if you haven't already done so, check out our review show. I thought like the SummerSlam review show was a really good show with some really good points on there. And just check out all our content. It's really, really good content. And you know, Wrestle Buddies are on the march. So thanks very much for joining us, guys. Hit the like button, leave us some comments because we do like to interact with it. Also, make sure you leave us some comments for us in the and we will always interact with you and join some nice discussions in the comments section. And hit that subscribe button and the lovely notification bell as well. But for now, until next week, from me, Joe, and Zane, and Steve, obviously you left earlier. Thanks very much, guys. See you again. Take care. Until next time.